Welcome back to the Health Ranger Report here on TalkNetwork.com. We're talking about why the law of attraction fails without action. And I promised you some practical solutions in this segment. So here we go. Here's the way I like to do it. I like to first imagine the outcome that I'm looking for. Now, we in the last segment, we talked about an example where maybe you want to be a big-time Hollywood director or producer or maybe a movie star, let's say. And you want to accomplish that in 5 years. Now, what you want to do is start working backwards from that 5 years to the present day. You want to actually plan the steps that can lead through cause and effect to the outcome that you desire in 5 years. And it doesn't work to say, well, I'm just going to wish for it and think about it, and it's going to leap to that result in 5 years. It doesn't work that way. To be a big-time Hollywood director in 5 years, you probably need to have a very successful independent film in, let's say, 4 years, right? Because the leap from being an independent film, a successful director of just a breakaway success in indie films, you can justify leaping from that to maybe being invited to direct a big-time blockbuster film a year later. That could happen. That's realistic. That's not wave a magic wand and wish for it. That's actually cause and effect. So now you have a 4-year goal of being a director of a successful independent media film. Now, if you want to get to that 4-year goal of being a successful independent media director, then what do you got to do at year 3 in order to make that happen? Well, year 3, you probably have to have some kind of really impressive portfolio together, and you probably need to be going around and showing your portfolio to potential movie funding or studios, or people who are going to write big checks to fund your movies. So if year 3 you're going around and meeting all these people and studios and you're pitching your ideas and you're pitching your talents, then probably in year 2 you need to have this portfolio developed that shows all the amazing things that you can do with film, that you can do with actors. Maybe they're short segments, maybe they're TV commercials, maybe they're 3-minute film shorts, maybe they're experimental films, whatever. So let's backtrack again. Year 5 years from now, you want to be a big-time Hollywood blockbuster movie director. Year 4, you probably need to be a director of a really successful independent film. Year 3, you probably need to be running around talking to studios and talking to investors and showing people who you are and what you can do. Year 2, you probably need to be creating snippets of very successful, impactful film bits, whatever they happen to be, film shorts or commercials or just dramatic scenes or what have you. And year 1, you might say, you need to become a master of the technical art of being a photographer, a film photographer. You need to understand focal length, lenses and light and exposure and, the progressive refresh rate of the cameras that are out there today. You need to become a master of the technical side of a film, of doing film, of creating film, right? You need to master the media. Just like if you're a writer, if you want to be a successful writer of a fiction novel in 5 years, you better figure out how to put a sentence together without having grammatical errors, right? So now, even though this is just, a crude example, this starts to make sense. Year 1, you master the camera. Year 2, you're doing short films. Year 3, you're meeting studios. Year 4, you're doing independent, like an indie media film. And year 5, you could be invited to do a blockbuster film. That is reasonable. And more importantly, that adheres to the laws of cause and effect. Now, too much of the law of attraction teaching really skips over all of this. It says you don't need a plan. You don't need action. You don't need a 1-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 3-year plan. You don't need transitions. You don't even need to think about cause and effect. All you got to do is sit in a room for 5 years and wish for what you want, and it will happen through some unknown magical process that can never be explained. Now, that, to me, that's nonsense. That is nonsense. And let me give you my personal example to explain why I believe that that's nonsense, why I believe you have to have an action plan. Now, in the over 10 years that I've been the editor of naturalnews.com, Natural News has grown to be one of the most popular, heavily visited websites on the internet. And it's even more so now with the launch of all these additional sites that we have. Natural News is actually a massive network now. And, I created our own search engine, goodgopher.com, and our news aggregation service, fetch.news. Over 100 websites there that are aggregating real-time news. Like you can go to trump.news, follow Donald Trump if you want. You can go to fluoride.news. We launched online magazines like gmo.news if you want to follow GMOs. Many other things. Now, I guarantee you that none of these sites just happened by sitting in a room and wishing for them to come into existence. None of it did. In fact, every day, well, I should say almost every day, 6 days a week is more accurate. For the last decade or more, I've sent out an email newsletter every evening. Whether it's a holiday, whether I'm traveling, whether it's a weekend, whatever. I have personally been part of sending out this email newsletter, forming it, reviewing the content, checking for typos, creating the composition of the articles, all of that. Sending that out every night to our massive email subscriber list. And this brings back traffic the next day of readers who are reading those articles and learning and sharing and spreading the word and helping us grow. Now, if I had instead spent my evenings meditating in a room, wishing for more traffic on the website and wishing for more social media sharing of our stories, I very much doubt that my meditation would have caused those things to happen. It was far more fruitful to actually send out the email newsletter so that people can read the stories and share them. So that involved me getting off my butt, taking the action, and doing it diligently, evening after evening, when most other people have gone home, they're off the clock, they're off work, they're on vacation, they're on a holiday, whatever. I have been working on the email newsletter evening after evening for thousands and thousands of evenings in a row. That is part of how naturalnews.com has become so successful. That's how it was built. Without the action, the intention would have been useless. In fact, I've met lots of people who have the intention of launching very successful websites. And I know this because they've told me about it. And they've said, hey, Mike, I'm really inspired by Natural News. I'm going to do my own website. It's going to be natural healing or the healing arts. We're going to talk about acupuncture or massage therapy or essential oils or whatever they want to talk about. Or the corruption of the CDC and the USDA, whatever. And they tell me, they describe how successful this site is going to be. And sometimes they ask me questions like, what do you advise? What are your tips for how to do this? And I often tell them, my biggest tip is be willing to work day after day, night after night, year after year. Be willing to put in the perspiration, not just the inspiration. And that usually flies over their heads. They're like, yeah, whatever. This is going to be awesome. I'm going to have this kick-ass site. People are going to come to it. We're going to cover stuff like nobody else, And often within a year, their site is gone. They're not doing it anymore. It never became a success, never got big. And if you look back and ask them why, I guarantee you most of the answers would be, well, I got busy. I didn't have time to do it. I went on vacation or whatever. Didn't want to put in the work every evening. When the action slides, the results that you want will not materialize. This is my point. So even though these people had great intention and they could visualize it with great detail in their minds, what they wanted to create, this highly successful website, these millions and millions of readers a month, and all the shares, the social media sharing of their articles, and this wonderful revenue model where sponsors were paying them millions of dollars to advertise their products on their site. Everything they have these very, very detailed visions, or creative imaginations of what they wanted to see happen, and yet it did not happen. It did not come true. And why? because they failed to take action. So if you envision something but you're not willing to work for it, it's not likely to come true. Not likely to happen. And this is where the law of attraction just really goes wrong. Because the promise is, if you just wish hard enough, you're going to make it happen. And I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that the intensity of the wishing is what determines the reliability of the result. I don't think that's how it works. I think the intention is the spark. It's what gets things started. But it's the work that you have to put in day after day to make something become reality. And I think this is true with not just money and business, but relationships and career and personal health and raising children, being a good parent. All these things, they require persistence. They require dedication. And they require expending effort day after day, year after year to make something great happen. They say that learning a skill and mastering it takes between 5,000 and 10,000 hours of performing that skill. And this is true whether you're a samurai swordsman, let's say, or an amazing painter, a graphic designer, a ballet dance artist, or an acupuncturist, or a firearms expert, whatever. You pick a skill. They say it takes between 5,000 and 10,000 hours to be a master at it. Well, the law of attraction were all that mattered, then why would anyone need 5,000 to 10,000 hours? They could just sit in a room and wish to be an expert, and eventually, if they wished hard enough, they would be an expert without having to practice. Right? That's the premise of the law of attraction. Expertise without practice. You can have the end result without putting in the causes that lead to those results. And that, I think, is totally bogus. If you want the results, you got to put in the effort. Now, we'll conclude all of this when we come back, so stay with me here. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, on the Health Ranger Report, broadcast by TalkNetwork.com, which I co-founded. Another example of actually getting results by putting in the work. So stay with me. We'll be right back with more. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Health Ranger Report. Please support us by visiting our online store at store.naturalnews.com, where you can find the world's cleanest, laboratory-validated superfoods, nutritional supplements, personal care products, shampoo, chemical-free products, just about everything for your home and body and health that you might want, including supplements for your pets as well. Everything is laboratory-validated in our forensic food lab, and we don't sell something unless it tests clean. I think we're the only online reseller to do this really extensive testing of everything that we sell. If we don't like the lab test results, meaning if it's not really, really clean, including with heavy metals, then we don't sell it, period. We have free shipping on orders over $99 and a satisfaction guarantee on everything that we offer. So check us out now at store.naturalnews.com, and thank you for your support.